Welcome to an episode of Talking Ship with John Shipley. My guest tonight is Phillips,
Hello.
comic from St. Louis. One who's had a bit of a different experience than some of the comics we've had on here, so I felt it would be apt to get him on.
Yes, thanks for having me on.
Well, Anthony, I'm glad to have you. You and I go way back. You did a podcast with me a while back. When we were at movies. And I know that you say that lately you are aiming to do more towards writing and less towards stand-up.
Yeah,
so, what's going on there?
I think a lot of it just deals with stage fright. Like, I find that you could write, like 5 minutes. You write 4 or 5 minutes, and you rehearse it, and you just do everything you do. But for me, when I get on that stage and look out just that darkness, and just like, I just freeze. And a lot of times when I do that, I often just kind of stumble on myself and whatnots. But I like the writing element a little more. I feel like that's more my niche.
See, I have the exact opposite when I'm doing it. I will spend a lot of time writing and rehearsing in my head, like rehearsing saying the same set over and over again and like working through it. But the second I go up on stage, like all that kind of melts away. Like, I don't know. I don't really get stage fright with it, but I definitely overthink it when I'm in the writing portion. Like I second guess myself the entire time.
Yeah, I mean the writing portion's just easier for me. Like it's more because I can just come up with these jokes and these bits that I just make myself laugh. So it's a good thing.
So how long have you been writing and working on comedy?
Oh gosh, I would say on and off since I was about a teenager. Just kind of writing on my own jokes, but I never really took it seriously. Like a lot of comedy, like there was more just to amuse like myself or my friends or my family. So it wasn't until I became an adult that I kind of took it more seriously. I guess just like trying to make it something versus being a joker.
Do you think it is just stage fright that's keeping you from wanting to perform more? I mean, obviously we can't do a lot here with Corona apocalypse happening, but
seeing certain places trying to do the Zoom thing where they have like comics go on and perform, it's kind of intriguing.
It's actually pretty cool. A lot of us have been doing that. A lot of STL comics have been doing, makeshift mic nights, on Zoom.
And it is interesting. Like it I think one good way to put it, it's like when I see people do that, it's cool to see like people still persevering with their art and trying to transcend like a bad situation. And it's also just kind of surreal that we're in that this time where we have to do this. It's a very interesting time to like just look at it and watch it.
So you said something to me that made me want to do this interview with you. Because you and I have done stand-up together before.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that one of the things that gets to you is that you kind of felt that the scene is kind of competitive in nature.
Kind of competitive.
Am I misreading that?
Well, a lot of it's, I wouldn't say competitive. Maybe parts of it's competitive. But then I noticed it's more of the click kind of thing, like the outsider coming into something a little bit, that you're not familiar with. And I always felt intimidated by that, and not in a bad way, like not in a like in a malicious way or anything like that. But it's kind of rough when you're just trying to find your own footing in something. And sometimes you try to talk to some people, and some people are responsive, and other times people aren't.
I can see that. I've had a little bit of experience with that with some of these stand-up events where you a lot of these people in the area are I don't know if I'd say veterans to it, but they've been around for a long time, and everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
But part of that's just kind of sticking through with it and making connections.
Oh yeah, no. And I mean, I do enjoy like going to these events and like open mic stuff and meeting people. But I mean, part of it can also just be my own shyness. Like, I mean, you and I have known each other for years, but you probably see me around people I don't know. Like, I just get really quiet around them and I don't respond. And part of it's just natural shyness.
I don't have natural shyness necessarily the same way, but I definitely have an inferiority complex, which factors into it.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, I wanted to do this, but held myself from doing it because I just thought that, there's no way that I can measure up to the other people who are doing it.
Like all the greats.
Yeah. Or even, the people in the area that, get up there and do it. Like, I just would shoot myself down before I even give myself a chance.
And I feel like sometimes with trying not to want to stand up, I feel like I'm doing that in a way. It's just, beating myself up a little bit, not doing the best I could have done, which I think is a natural thing.
So when you prepare for one of these sets and you make your material and whatnot, how much do you practice it? Like, go through the set yourself?
I mean, a lot of time I do it like mentally and set. Well, one thing I have done in the past, because I work in my customer service environment, is I'll take a joke and I'll just kind of, I wouldn't say dump it on people, but I try this thing out with people. I basically try to use a natural conversation, but while doing the bit. And I find that that's kind of how I rehearse a little bit, but also it's how I get a good gauge of like what works, what doesn't work. Like if you can make some random person just buying your shit laugh with something, then you got something a little bit tangible to work with.
I guess what I'm getting at is like you have your set that you've planned on using. Do you like talk it through to yourself a couple times ahead of time?
Sometimes I do that. Other times I just kind of do it in my head and just kind of do that. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm probably like one of the worst people when it comes to rehearsing my own material, admittedly. I mean, think it's something you do with time. I think it
could help.
What's that?
I think that could really help you, honestly.
Yeah, it probably can.
I mean, especially when it comes to like getting nervous or anything. If you are the kind of person who stumbles on your words or gets caught up in the moment and like freezes,
there is that too. I mean, there is, I think, like sort of a rush you get when you go on stage. And when I'm talking earlier about like just wanting to do it, I find the best way to do it is just jump in, And there is that thing of like you're standing, like I found this thing happen a few times where you're standing, waiting to get on stage, and you kind of look around and you see all the people and like, oh man, I'm going to be talking to all these people, and then you get on there, and there's that like sort of that adrenaline rush where you just kind of like that the flight or fight thing. And it's like, it's like, okay, do I stand here and do this or do I just run off? And I kind of do battle that a little bit.
I do this thing that I call high dive mentality. Ever since I was a little kid, like I would get onto the high dive, like at the Recplex or whatnot, and I would fucking freak out, about pushing myself to actually do it. Yeah. Until I realized that I would do this every time.
Right.
And ever since then, when I get myself in a situation where I know I'm going to tense up, I force myself into it so that I don't have a chance to react. Yeah. Whether that be, going on stage or doing something that would make me uncomfortable.
Man, that's a good way to look at it. It's actually a very good way to look at it. Yeah, it's. But I mean, I do enjoy stand up. I mean, I think that's something I do. I do love doing it. Like that. Like there is this sort of dopamine rush when you like tell a joke and you just hear all these people start laughing. It just tickles the right thing in your brain.
I view it kind of like a muscle, man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell a set once. You'll tell a set, 2, 3, times or whatever. You might recycle jokes, but every time you tell it, you kind of fine tune it, and you find which parts of it went over well, which didn't.
Yeah.
And I know that when I'm telling a joke, I might come up with a new way of phrasing a joke that I told 2 months ago or something like that.
Yeah. That's kind of how I did the time machine joke in my set, because it was something I came up with, I guess, a few years prior. Just this idea. I don't know if I can get the whole thing of the joke. I don't need to, but when it's
can I okay. Can I offer a little constructive criticism?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a chance to see your comedy, and you have some very good premises for your jokes.
Right.
Like I love the Where's Waldo with your daughter, and the premise of going back in time to watch people eat poisonous things. You have some really strong premises, and they could be really funny. The thing is, and the reason why I was saying, like, do you practice ahead of time?
Yeah.
Is that if you talk it through a couple of times and whatnot, and you get the pacing down, you can pace your joke a little easier, and you don't get caught up with it.
Right. That does happen. And you've seen it where you're just like it, kind of like ahead of one foot or the other, and certain parts of the bit just don't work because either I rush through it or, that kind of thing happens.
And that, dude, honestly, like I said, and this is part of the reason why I really wanted to get you on here, because you have potential to do better at it. I feel like you're cutting yourself out early.
Yeah. It's I would say it's like the defeatist thing in me sometimes, where you could be just, I mean, everyone does it, it's like you suck at something or you just mess up at something and you're like, God dang, I'm no good. And it's kind of why I took the initial thing I wrote down, which is because I'm like, no, I don't feel this way. I'm just kind of feeling bad.
It's like I said, it's like a muscle, man. If you go out and you do stand up, once every 3 months, then you're not really getting a chance to get your chops together doing it. You're not going to really chance to refine your set or refine your comedy style, and you're never going to really get past that stage fright thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're forcing yourself to go do it, once a week, once every 2 weeks, and you're working on a set and you're treating it kind of like it's a job where you have to come up with new material constantly, you get past that because it becomes routine for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was fucking terrified the first time I went up there, but now it's kind of like second nature, because it's just like, oh, okay, well, it's my turn.
Right.
You gotta force yourself to make it a habit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
But like I said, I think you have a lot of really funny stuff there, and I know from conversations, just doing the podcast with you or just talking to you, you'll get me laughing. You just, it's the confidence. And if you just put yourself out there more, you could definitely do it.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I think once things kind of get settled, I mean, who knows when that's going to be with everything going on, but I definitely want to try again. But maybe what I'm doing, it's just not my style. Maybe that's part of the problem too. You never know.
And that's part of the thing. Like, I mean, you're not okay. As cliche as it sounds, I'm going to whip out a little phrase that my dad would use that I think is the best piece of advice I ever got. The only person that you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. So don't go out there and compare yourself to random comic before you or random comic after you. Compare yourself to how you did prior.
Yeah.
You know? And if you go with that mentality, you will get better and you will get more confident with it.
Oh yeah, no, that's extremely good advice. It's very wise. I mean, just because, and they can do that. Like I've been guilty of doing that. Like, watch somebody and say, like, man, that guy's so fucking good, and you just kind of get jealous, and then kind of, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to experience this because you don't go to a lot of these comedy events.
Yeah.
But a lot of the comics, at least from what I've experienced, one of the reasons they sound really funny or really good is because that comic has done that set at least 6 times.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard comics use the same joke 3 times in a week.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so awkward to be like kind of like laughing at something you've heard so many times. But that's the thing. They've practiced that set and they've honed that joke to the point where they know what beats they have to hit.
Right.
To get that response.
Like the practice makes perfect.
Yeah, it is completely practice makes perfect.
Go look at.
I mean, they are so much funny. They're so funny because they have the chance to go out there and do the same joke several times and get it to the point where it's almost like a science.
Right.
And you can do that too. I mean, I'm betting that if you looked at any of these people's first times, it would not be something.
Yeah, I know. Even though he's kind of a like scoring member of the comedy community, Louis C.K. I remember when he first did stand up, like his first open mic, I think he got booed or something. He just bombed, and he didn't do it for like a whole year or two. Then he went back and then became that guy. And that's like every comedian, really.
That's part of the reason why I really appreciate my fiance, because she has kept me going at it. Like, I've had a couple of nights where I have just not done as well as I wanted to do, or I will get parts of my set that I wanted to do, and I will be fucking hard on myself. And it's hard to see the forest from the trees when you're the one critiquing yourself, because you don't know how people are reacting to it. And you just got to find that person that will be honest with you and as unbiased as possible, and just tell you like, oh, hey, well, this is really good. This one needs a little bit of work, and just kind of give you that feedback, and just somebody to keep you accountable to doing it. Because I know that on so many occasions I've wanted to just back out the last moment, and having somebody keep you accountable is really beneficial.
Well, absolutely. I mean, having just as someone as the foundation to keep you going is always, I don't want to say crucial, but it's a very welcome thing. It gives you security. It gives you a backing, in case you do stumble and fall. It's like, hey, keep going.
I think that's kind of touching back on what you mentioned earlier about like how things are kind of cliquey. I think that's because a lot of those comics have those friends in the community that they go to these things with and see all the time, and they're kind of holding each other accountable to it.
That's a good way to look at it.
So maybe that's just what you need.
Yeah, the motivation.
And if that means me dragging your ass to a bunch of things, then I'll fucking do it.
All right, hold you to that.
Hey, I got to keep me accountable too. So
there you go.
So, what are you working on these days?
Not
necessarily strictly comedy related.
Working on, I don't know. Like I've been kind of doing little treatments here and there or outlines for short stories or something, or I don't know. I mean, honestly, a lot of it has been comedy, but it's mostly been just kind of being in this moment in time with the coronavirus and everything. It's just so surreal. And working, I mean, I work in a grocery store, so like seeing all these things happen just kind of gives you like a lot of material to work with. So I've been trying to like hone down like certain elements and write about them.
Here's an idea that I heard recently this week from one of my classes that might be a beneficial like medium for your short story.
Mm-hmm.
I heard of a author that was submitting their short story through the New York Times Twitter.
Okay.
And they had a specific Twitter set aside where every day this portion of a short story at certain times was released through that Twitter. And made it kind of like a radio serial. And it's a really interesting way of like segmenting out your short story and kind of getting a captive audience, because if you get them with that hook, and keep giving them a little bit each day, they keep coming back to it. And with it being Twitter, it's easily shared.
I actually never heard about that.
I saw that. I was like, that sounds really fucking interesting.
I mean, that's very creative and very outside the norm. And I do appreciate that. Like, that's, wow. Like, I have honestly never heard of that before, but I mean, kudos to whoever who came up with that, because that's just brilliant.
I'm just saying, I was just thinking, if you ever thought about doing something like that, that'd be really cool. Because, I mean, that's not just one person's medium. That could be anybody's.
Right. Not gotcha on that.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that you're keeping at the writing.
Yeah.
Just any kind of in particular, or you just
what's that?
Any kind of particular genre or anything that you're working on?
Not really. I mean, mostly. I had two different things, and one's kind of more dark fantasy, and the other one's more cyberpunky sci-fi kind of thing. But I mean, I just said
that seems to be your niche. I know that you're a big fan of Blade Runner, etc.
Yeah. I'm still probably like just forcing you to watch some things. Like, why didn't I watch it before? No, but it's really hard. I mean, I do find like writing right now kind of is beneficial, because I say what's everything going on. It's just sometimes you just have to put your mind somewhere else.
And I mean, this is like a perfect time to force yourself to do something like that.
Oh yeah,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, I mean, because yeah, no, it's just like there has been no other time where you don't have to do something, because you can't make an excuse and go out, somewhere. You can't go out to a restaurant. You can't go out to a bar. You can't go out to a movie or anything. It's just you're stuck like with either home at work. So you have to do something to fill up that time. And writing is just one way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that a lot of times we're really hard on ourselves for, a lot of people like are really hard on themselves because they're not doing something they deem worthy, or, they don't like, oh, I spent my time watching movies and playing video games. I didn't actually do anything. If you're creating something.
Yeah, I'm kind of guilty of that. I think half of this time is spent as just like listening to podcasts and playing video games at night, just trying to forget.
Well, if it's something that brings you enjoyment, then I don't think it's a waste of time.
No, like I was listening to, I guess last podcast on the left talking about the whole JFK assassination, and just hearing all this, and and playing games just kind of breaks it down, and then I just don't have to think about wearing a mask at work or anything like that.
So, for the people that are going to hear this podcast out there, where can they find more of Anthony Phillips? Do you have places where you're, releasing any of your stuff or plan to?
Well, let's see. I have my Twitter, but I haven't really used it a lot recently. I'm pretty sure it's still under Dark Hotline. My main thing, like I have Instagram, same thing, Dark Hotline, and I also have a photography one, which is Electronic Sleep.
I've given you crap about that in the past, but it's actually really beautiful.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get into it more, and maybe like once I think things kind of slow down, I want to try pick that back up and do it again because I miss doing it.
Hey man, just run with it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the idea of it too.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, that's really about it so far.
Well, I'll tell you what. Part of this project that I'm doing here, where I'm interviewing people, I'm kind of creating a hub for St. Louis comics, etc. I'm going to post a lot of videos of stand-ups and these interviews and that kind of stuff. But if you have anything that you want to share up there, I'll be happy to stick up there too, as well as plug your stuff. So just keep me in the loop.
Sounds good.
I want to thank you one more time for being on here with me.
Oh, absolutely, John. I wouldn't do trade for anything. I got your back.
Oh, always. All right. So let's just go ahead and wrap that up for episode 2 of Talking Ship with Jonathan Shipley and my guest, Anthony Phillips.
Well, thanks for listening.
Bye.